verse 10. So verse 10 is, now see, as we said yesterday, most of the teaching is over. So now we are just kind of reiterating, and we are just kind of putting everything together and saying things differently, so that what you get it right. So that means it's a different, you have to make sure that the same thing I say it in a different way. And when you get that, then you know that your understanding is firm. If I say one thing and the same thing I say some other way, and you feel all fumbling, that means the understanding is not deep enough. So this is the purpose, to say the same things in different ways to ensure that you get it right. So now, the verse 10 is talking about, it's a very nice way of putting, like how Rich is asking me, tell me what we have studied, and the line of logic that the text has used to study what we want to study. Yeah. So now it's showing the line of logic. So verse 10, he says, Anyat deva ahuhu vidyaya anyat ahuhu avidyaya iti shushuma dhiranam ye nata vichakshire. Okay, so that means that anything what we saw last time, see, we generally, when we say somebody is operating from Vidya, Vidya means knowledge, and somebody is operating from Avidya, Avidya means ignorance. What is our normal definition of the person who is operating from Vidya and operating from Avidya?
Normal
Definition.
Maybe academically not, they don't have the knowledge academically or...
Exactly. So your normal definition of avidya is, as one thing Rashna is saying is, let's say you're not educated. So then you think you will put it in which category? Somebody who's operating from ignorance. Yeah? What else?
Unknowing.
Okay. See, here in this verse, two categories are created. One category is called Vidya. Vidya is knowledge. And the other category is Avidya. Avidya is what? Ignorance. So what we are doing now is looking at the normal definition of what we will categorize as Vidya and what we will categorize as Avidya. Then what we will do is, here it is talking about Vidya and Avidya at a different level. So what we want to do is start with our definition and then move to what? The definition of Upanishad based on what was taught. See, these are all methodologies. This is all something which is inbuilt in the teaching to make your mind refined. So therefore, let's start first with what the normal categories from where we operate. What we define as avidya and what we define as knowledge. So that means what? Avidya, ignorance and knowledge. So as Rashna said, in our normal understanding, what avidya, ignorance is what? When you are uneducated academically. Yeah? Then what else?
Unawareness.
Exactly. When you are not, it's so, what she's saying is very, very true. Yeah. The more, sometimes, what they say is, what that Freud used to say, what, the slip of the tongue or something like that. In those moments, we, generally what happens is we are all guarded. We are guarded and we show ourselves in a certain way. We present ourselves in a certain way. We are very conscious of, saying the right things, behaving in a right way. So that is what all a guarded behavior, a facade that we put in front of the people when we behave. But sometimes our thought processes may be what quite different from what this facade. So what happens is, sometimes when I am spontaneously responding, what happens is what? My real thoughts come out.
Freudian slip.
Freudian slip. Freudian split is, nothing is, if it was not in your mind, it would not have come out. That means it's very much in the mind. When your guards are on, it doesn't come out. But when your guards are off, it comes out. So that means this is what, yeah. So therefore, what happens in that moment, it can reflect our true nature, and that would be quite different from what the facade that we put. So that is what our real nature, which is what our conservative thoughts, our wrong belief systems, our giving attention to wrong information, this is all comes out. So that is also what ignorance. It is ignorance.
Couldn't it be projected also? We think that a person should behave in a particular way, and if they don't, we say, oh, that's it.
Wonderful. So that means in our interpersonal relationships, what happens is that there is a way that we interact. Yeah. And the way that we interact is, there are some implicit assumptions. The implicit assumptions, see, we are moving from academic ignorance to different definitions of ignorance. Yeah. So that means it includes what my real thought processes are, what my academic ignorance, then as Rashna is saying, my inability to see what is appropriate in what my interactions with people. So that means I can be academically totally brilliant, but at the same time so insensitive to what is required and how one should behave. So this is why the more you have power, the more what your wisdom is tested. Because in that position of power, what happens? There is an illusion of what? Your kind of...
You expect your
superiority,
to be in a certain way.
and you have some kind of a control over other people. And in that scenario, what happens?
Difficulty.
Arrogance.
You're so many, if you're insecure, that insecurity is what transferred to others, whether you realize it or not. This is how we end up behaving. That means that your ignorance about a certain wider aspect, it actually starts manifesting as what? How you relate to others. And that is what we don't even realize, but it is. It is stemming from ignorance. When I'm interacting with people, and imagine if I have kind of in my perception, a higher position than others, and if I think that I can control them as a result of that, that is what ignorance. So that means even the management people have actually understood it in some way or the other, because as Village is saying that now they talk so much about, instead of hierarchy, teamwork. What is this? The whole evolution of management methods, actually they know this. So you try to overcome these problems by creating what? Different systems which actually represent what more the mature way of dealing with the world than the traditional way of dealing with the world. But the tendency is even if I change the system from hierarchical system to the team system, as long as everybody understands what the use and the change in how they operate, still what will happen? Human nature will, even if I'm operating in a team, still it will what? I will act in a hierarchical manner, in a bossy manner. So what I have done is, I've changed the system, but I have not changed what?
My thinking.
Myself, my thinking. So that means, but in the new system, I continue to, the purpose of the new system was to change the way I do things. What I've done is, I've changed the external system, but I still continue to do what I did in the same manner. This is how we keep shifting systems, but we don't change. As long as we don't change, the change of system will not do anything much. So that means the first emphasis is not only changing myself, but changing the mindsets of the people. Changing the mindsets of the people is actually the key. We constantly think that systems have to change. The systems will not change. Systems will not bring about the desirable change unless people learn to think differently. So therefore, I will give you a couple of examples, because now I've actually taught everything, so now it's all examples and understanding things. So there are two examples. One example is that of Steve Jobs. So the first, Steve Jobs is, obviously he did miracles with his Apple, and in his biography, or in his biography, he has somebody wrote, and it is it's amazing how, in order to be extraordinarily successful human being, you have to be thinking differently. If you're just a normal person, you can't reach that heights. So in one of these things, he said that generally what happens is, if you're a CEO, you hire people, and who do you want to hire? If you are in a position to hire, you want to hire best of brains within your budget, right? You want the best. In whatever that budget is, you choose the best that you can afford. So he says that if you hire all these best brains in the world, in whichever domain, and if you tell them what to do, he says, what's the point? He says, you have hired them because you want to know from them what you should do. You have to use their talents and their skills and their capacities you're paying them for their skills, their capacities, their outstanding way of doing things. But if you keep on telling them what to do, what are you doing? You are not letting those capacities blossom. So that means that you have right people is not enough. How do you make use of the resources that you have? It depends upon your maturity. So you can collect all the right people, but if you don't know how to nurture them, to provide them with the environment in which they can blossom.
You see, Steve Jobs was a different cup of tea, but generally the CEO doesn't hire the very intelligent people. If they hire it, you do it, he'll be out.
Absolutely. So that means we keep on actually acting from our insecurities. We never do what needs to be done because we are not thinking globally. We only think from our own little self-interest. So if the CEO is only worried about keeping his job, that goal the goal itself is wrong. Then any decision that is made based on that goal is going to be what? Not going to produce. Because as a CEO, what is your real job? To do whatever is the best for the company, and that company itself is part of a society. So that means provide service to the society, and then as a result, what benefit? Of course. But the thing is, if your vision becomes, I want to keep my job, then your recruitment is also all wrong. How you deal with the people is wrong. Now you have external management consultants and they said, okay, now it's only numbers and you just need to do this. And then, but if mindsets remain exactly the same, what will happen then? You will see no changes taking place.
It's a mediocre company.
It's a mediocre. You settle for mediocrity. So therefore, the way we interact with the universe and in our small actions, we have to change. And our goals have to become different. Our ways of interacting with people have to change. And this is all about alignment. This is very, very important. Otherwise, as Videsh says, we just feel inspired by these set of classes for 7 days. We go back and we continue to be exactly the same person.
Yeah.
Same thought processes, same everything.
You have to make small
You
changes.
have to make those small changes. And that's how what life takes you forward, to become better and better and better thinker. So therefore, this how you interact with the people is what we say. That is what one is based out of ignorance. That is manifestation of our own ignorance. The other example which I was going to give, which was actually a nice example. One of my friends, she works for a very well-known NGO. And she and her friend are like the CEOs. And the other friend, so what happens is, these NGOs traditionally have been looking for a lot of funds. They have to look for funds in order to do whatever they are doing.
Work.
Yeah, one there. So now, their previous strategy was that they just had 5 or 6 major supporters, and then the funds came from there, and that was enough for them to do what they were doing. Now they are thinking of expanding. So what happened is they had to think as to where additional resources are going to come from. Now, some of them said, you can't just go and ask what the same people again and again and again and ask them to what contribute what more than they are already doing.
It's called milking the same cow again and again.
Milking the same cow again and again.
Can't you do it?
So then they said, okay, now they have to ask for help from not the same people but other people. So when you are asking for help from other people, you have 2 choices. Either you look for what another few more major donors. You concentrate on, let's say, 4 or 5 more people who will give you lots of money. Or you can say, I'm going to ask small amounts to what?
Larger, bigger.
Larger picture. So that means the burden on each one is
It's
what?
less.
Less. So they had this, they were thinking about it. So they said they chose what? The latter strategy. Latter strategy is what? That asks smaller amounts from increased number of people. So therefore, more and more people can participate. And there is less and less burden on few individuals. That seems like what? Good strategy, right? Seems like a nice strategy. No? Xavier is saying. Okay. Now that is another issue. Okay. So that is not the point. Okay, it doesn't matter. But this is what they chose. That's what they chose. They chose that I'm going to ask because see what they also were interested in is what? Not just having money but changing the mindset. So the more and more people are involved, then more and more people what? Change their mindset. See, we think charity is for others. Charity also brings about what? Change in our own self.
An awareness that
And awareness about our responsibility
to the society.
Instead of asking.
So sorry?
Start by this,
Yeah.
exactly, instead
Absolutely.
of asking.
Absolutely.
Give people opportunity to realize this.
Absolutely. Give education, change of mindset. Ultimately, everything boils down to what? Change of mindset.
Then they'll contribute without you asking.
Then they will contribute without you asking.
Once you transfer and then your accountability is correct, then you will.
So, now everybody has different challenge.
That's true.
That's so true. But
He's talking from a corporate point.
Provided
This is why.
your accounting system is transparent and where you're spending the money, you have to tell them and what result it produces, then they'll do. Otherwise, generally the NGO, the relatives are the board members. So nothing changes.
So now, okay, there are a few things here. One thing what Xavier is pointing saying is that if you change the mindset of people and if you make them realize that, hey, you're doing charity. Generally when we do give donations, we think that we are what?
Helping the other person.
And you take what position?
Higher.
Higher position.
See the hand, African people say that the hand of the one who gives is always higher than the one who receives.
Receives.
So don't bring people in a situation when they have to receive.
But one important thing is you can give without what? And higher.
Higher.
Feeling higher if you change what?
Your mindset.
And how do you change the mindset? When you give, you think you are doing the other person
A favor.
Actually, you are making yourself bigger. Because everybody can use whatever resources one has for one's own well-being. And one well-being could be what? It keeps on increasing. What? I want bigger house, I want bigger car, I want more jewelry, I want more clothes. Everybody can do that. It's not a big deal.
By giving only you can rise.
Absolutely.
Or you give it as a devotee.
When I see that by giving, what it not only helps the other people, it what
Helps
makes
yourself
me bigger
bigger.
than what it takes me out of my normal sense of what this small self who's constantly trying to what guard my self-interest, and I'm indifferent to the well-being of others. You have to change from this mindset. You have to become bigger. How will you become bigger if you keep on operating like this? It's not possible. Million times you will hear you have to become big, but if you don't change this behavior, you will never become big.
Like you told us about the roles.
Absolutely.
Role of the devotee as a giver.
You have to concretize things, otherwise they just remain ideas.
Give till it hurts.
Absolutely. This is what our teacher used to say. You have to give
Till
it hurts.
And he is a poem also, Nana.
Yeah. So that means that it's not only the other person, it is your expansion. And your expansion is so necessary. Because if everybody continues to be small and feel small, and we keep on changing the systems, but everybody who is participating in that system is feeling small, no matter what system you create, people will only act out of smallness.
smallness.
This is what has happened with consumerism, with the American system. Everybody consumes from the world.
Absolutely.
Nobody gives back.
Nobody gives
And
back.
they have finished the
Therefore,
plan.
that mindset changing is so critical. And anybody who contributes to that change of mindset, there are some societies who respect that. One of the reasons, even though we may be very critical about the US, but one thing is so true. They have created systems where what intelligent people are respected. Intelligence is respected. Knowledge is respected. So they have created institutions where what the best of the brains, all these Ivy League schools and all the best of the brains are what nurtured. They are given the infrastructure. They are given the facilities where they can what they can do. And they are given even the resources to what engage in further research. They are given all the facilities. They are given the respect. And so many of them become Nobel laureates. Because there is a whole infrastructure supporting what the person who has knowledge. If you have society where knowledge is not respected, or if you have a person who has knowledge and if you don't have respect for that person, there is what? It's a complete, you will be able to take very little. Even if the person is giving 100%, your capacity to absorb is what? 2%. And you can only take what you are ready for. This is the universe. So that means that if you are with, you have a PhD, Nobel laureate with you, but you have no preparation, how much will you able to get from his talk? Very little. But if you have expanded yourself, how much will you get?
Much more.
A lot more. So that means this ocean of knowledge, if you have, but if you operate from that smallness, your capacity to absorb will limit you. So what responsibility you have? To expand yourself, so your absorption becomes better. And that expansion, when will it happen? When you begin to do things differently, understand things differently, and begin to do things differently. Only then, over a period of time, that expansion will happen. It will not just happen overnight. So that means the good teacher also creates what? The infrastructure in the other person to become bigger. And the person also has to make one's own effort to become bigger. That is required. So therefore, by doing so, what we do is when I expand, this is very, very nice. There is a nice verse of Samhita. Nice verse of Samhita which says, Setus Taraha. What? That you cross the bridge. What is the bridge which needs to be crossed? He says, what? Shraddhaya Ashraddha Taraha. It says that generally we only operate from what? Intellectual means we become cynical, we become critical. In some ways, it is good to be critical. It's good not to just accept every idea blindly without thinking about it. It's very important. But the same critical nature, if that becomes what? The guiding factor, you'll only find what? Faults. So therefore, same thing which is positive, when you don't use it with judiciously, the same thing becomes what? Block. So that means you have to help yourself to do what? That critical nature and critical thing you have to cultivate in a way that it becomes what? Not a block, but it helps you to expand. You have to do that. So that means, how do you do it? How do you do it?
Same with that devotee being the devotee and doing everything with that in mind, that Krishna is okay.
So that means, one simple thing, if you are exposing yourself to a set of ideas, you can have some implicit kind of understanding. And you say, yeah, this I've heard 100 times. If you sit and expose to this idea, yeah, this anyway, nothing new is coming. What happens? What are you doing to your mindset?
Putting a block, yeah.
Yeah, this I've heard 100 times. I saw repetition. So many people come to Vedanta with, yeah, it's all what this Upanishad says. Same thing as other Upanishad. It's all the same. If you come with that mindset, what will happen?
Closed mind.
What is going to be your level of alertness in this class? These are messages, these are subtle messages that we give to ourselves. We don't even realize it. So therefore, one has to say what this is, this ocean of knowledge which is to do with changing the way I look at things in every small aspect of things. It's never enough because I can always become what? Little better than what I am right now. If that is your attitude, the alertness with which you listen to this knowledge is going to be what? Different. Very, very different. And your capacity to absorb this subtlety is going to be what? Far more better. So that means you have to cross what?
The bridge.
Ashraddha to Shraddha. And how are you going to do it? When that tendency of Ashraddha comes, you need to what? Recognize it and
change it.
There is no other shortcut. There is no shortcut. There are no formulas. You have to do it. There is no other way.
You have to cross the bridge.
You have to cross the bridge in any way. And for crossing the bridge, every time that thought comes, you need to what? Change that thought.
There is an example by Advaita, what he says. There is a dark road of 1,000 kilometers and you have a car. And it's very dark, like you're going from Goa to Bombay in the night. And you have only the light of the car. The light of the car is only 15 feet.
Yes.
But if you trust that light and you have a faith in that light, you will be able to cross 1,000 kilometers.
Yes.
So you've got to have Shraddha, not the faith. Right word is
Right.
and Shraddha is consistency of faith.
Absolutely.
You have to pursue till the end.
Absolutely. Nobody can move from here to here. People have to move from what? Here to here. Then from here to here. That's exactly the idea that you're conveying. Here to here. Ultimately what happens?
You go there, reach your destination.
But you have to be alert. What? All the way.
time.
So it sounds like a lot of effort.
Lot
And that
of
effort will make it spontaneous.
Absolutely. Initially, absolutely. Our teacher used to say, initially it's all deliberate. Because you have a different way of thinking. Everybody has. Please don't feel bad about it. Everybody has.
But you have to make the small changes and be aware that this is
Absolutely.
what happens to me.
Absolutely. Because otherwise what happens? We are stuck here and we are somehow wanting to go there. It will never happen. You have to make those, what is deliberate initially becomes what? Spontaneous after a while. Then that is spontaneous, but here it is again deliberate, then it becomes spontaneous. Then this is deliberate and this becomes spontaneous. So that means this is how you move forward. You have, and that's why it requires alertness. So Shraddha, you have to cross the bridge. But how will you cross the bridge? You have to make the changes now.
You have to make an effort like you're swimming.
You have to make an
you're
effort,
driving
exactly.
a car.
In everything there is an effort. Changing the mindset doesn't happen automatically. It requires a lot of effort. And it has to be reinforced what? Again and again and again. And when the past the attitudes, behaviors, understanding comes, without being judgmental, what you need to do is quietly tell yourself what? That, hey, this is how I used to think. Now I have to move to what? More holistic. Have to.
This is another example of Ramchandra. What he says, that how the human being live the life in the current scenario. So he puts a dot. He says, dot is myself. So I am a selfish human being only drawing the resources from the world. Then if I make a circle around it, then my family. There is another circle. Then there is another circle, you have got your kids and wife, another circle. So it's after you take care of it, then you take care of the community. And then you take care of your nation. And then you take care of the universe. So if you draw the circles like this, you will come to a situation where it will be a straight line. And you will be completely open. And then only you can receive things, what you desire or what you want. Automatically come to you. You don't even struggle. I've practiced that and it worked wonders.
That is all expansion. The the expansion is not just like that, it gradually moves and you need to facilitate. And every person who is interested in one's expansion has to deliberately work towards it. It doesn't come like that.
Generally people stuck with me, myself, family and my business and so on.
So that means, then it says, Danena Adanam Tara. This is exactly. So Adanam is what? Adanam means this hoarding is what? The mentality. The resources you try to acquire as much as you want, and then what? As much as you can, and then you hoard it for your own consumption. He says from this you have to become what? A giver. How? Not easy. From this tendency to hoard and hoard and hoard and to take and take and take and somehow increase my well-being, how will you begin to give? Beyond what immediate changes. Nobody is going to be able to change like that. If you expect either for yourself or for anybody else, it will not happen. What do you need to do is what? Cultivate what? This. First see the value of giving, and then you need to what? Cultivate that behavior. Because that behavior is initially what? Very, very deliberate. Later on, it becomes what? Spontaneous. So therefore, how do I become a giver and change and shift from the person who just wants to preserve things to share? What? You have to tell yourself that exactly when you are sharing, you are not only helping the other person, you are what?
Helping yourself.
Helping yourself. You are helping yourself in what? Your own expansion. If you think you are helping the person, then you will always have that what?
Higher authority.
Higher authority, that higher hand. But if you think that you are engaging in your own expansion, in your own self-growth, by learning to share, then you are doing it for whom?
Yourself.
For yourself, but your self-interest is now different from before. Before your self-interest was what? Not regarding the well-being of others. Now your self-interest is what?
Others.
It incorporates the needs of others. That is growth. Your self-growth means that my well-being is what? Not if I'm indifferent to your well-being, then really I can't have a lot of well-being. But if I participate in your well-being, my well-being is what? Enhanced manifold.
So we give to both of us. To
So
ourselves.
exactly. By giving, you're not only giving to them, you're also
For yourself. So both.
So I'll just tell you it's very interesting. This just recently I went to my teacher's first anniversary, and I met one doctor from the US. And see, this is where, when sometimes Swamiji used to speak person to person to somebody, that those moments were like magic. So he told this doctor from the US, so people think that he has started paying for SEMA, the organization, to help what? The poor people.
Yeah, the children.
Yeah, the children, the poor people. And one day he told this doctor, he said, you know what, people think that I have started this organization to what? Help the poor people. And it's true. But more than that, or equally, I have started this organization because the people who come to me, they are highly privileged people. They have to learn to what? Give. Because in that giving is their expansion. And they need to be big in order to understand what? The final reality. Otherwise, it will never happen. He says,
consumer all your
absolutely. And you still remain, you operate from that smallest. So that he says, the whole idea of aim for seva is not only to bring about change in what the lives of the children, it is equally to what bring about change in what mindsets of the people who are coming to me, and so that they can they give them value where they can become bigger. And he says, my God, when he heard that, he says, how much can I give? And it's not enough. Because I need to expand. That's exactly. Once you have shifted and if you have seen that, it's effortless, it becomes effortless. Because it's not for others' well-being, it is equally for what?
Your own well-being.
Your own well-being. So these are some ideas which are so big and so important. So that this Siddhustara means you need to initiate. And if you don't operate from that, then there is what we call ignorance. Because there is some wrong understanding of how the world operates.
So Vidya is you understood then when you give, that's Vidya, and
Yeah, absolutely. So this is how we what the Vidya and Avidya. But Vidya and Avidya is not simplistic like how we generally think, right? So this means initiating growth. But this is how we generally define Vidya and Avidya. What Upanishad is showing is another level. What is that other level?
Ishvara.
That is also one
Ishvara.
whole thing of Vidya and Avidya. Rashna, you want to
I
explain?
see Ishvara in everything that we do. Whatever we do.
When you're
we
giving,
incorporate
not
it.
when.
This connection of Ishvara.
See, that is also because you are, the truth is, you are operating not in a senseless, baseless world, but you are operating in what? An intelligent design. The more and more you see, all these scientists talking about the intelligent design. Yesterday we saw, it's not just about our giving or whatever. All our breathing is a result of what?
What is manifested?
What is, those organisms were not directly through photosynthesis were taking energy of the sun.
How iron comes into your body.
How iron comes into your body. All this is incredible. So that means you are not operating in this meaningless, dumb universe. You are operating in a universe which is so intelligent. And that intelligence is what?
Pervading everywhere.
Everything. And if you miss the presence of the intelligence, what will happen is, you take onto yourself what? The whole burden of what? Changing the universe according to what I understand to be right. When that happens, you become what? You become the center, and your understanding becomes what? The center. And you want the world to behave according to what you have decided how the world should behave. But if you understand the fact that you are operating within what? This whole big design, which is extremely intelligent, then it doesn't mean that if the design is intelligent, you don't have to do anything. That's not what the point is. The point is, once having understood the design, you find what? Your part in it. You don't over-assume the responsibility and you don't under-assume the responsibility. In that grand scheme of things, I have a place. And at my place, at this time, you have to be intelligent and identify what that which needs to be done by you, which then will go into what? The equation of the whole design, and it will what? Change the things. So that means what, at this point in time, to find the right interventions, the right thing is your job. And you start from there, and over a period of time, what happens? Life takes you forward. Your sphere of influence keeps growing. And you can, the system provides you with the feedback where you can do more and more and more and more. If you want to go from here to there, again, you have to take what?
Small steps. Follow the process.
You can't go from here to there. It's not possible. That's how the intelligent order is. Nothing it is like that. You want to become a pianist, you have to start with what? Simple lessons. You want to become a physicist, you have to start and you have to go. You want to become a musician, anything. You need to make those small, and then you build it. If you want to make some differences in the world, if you want to make any change in you, you have to what? Every small step. If you want to make the change in the world, again, what? Small, meaningful things which will ultimately culminate into something big. Otherwise, you are constantly operating from what? Dissatisfaction. Even you have the noblest goals, you operate because the world is never going to do, everybody is never going to do what you want them to do. So the mindset is that of what?
That they should do
Dissatisfaction. You have to change that mindset of dissatisfaction into what? The person who is at peace. How will you change it? In spite of seeing the disorder, how will you be a satisfied person?
By making that effort.
By looking at the fact that there are causes and causes and causes and causes which makes this world, which is what it is now. It's not random. Now, if you want things to be different, what you have to do? Create new causes, which over a period of time is what?
Change.
Going to change. But if you immediately want to change, what will happen? So that means we have to learn to live with the design. That design is what we call Ishvara. Ishvara is the intelligence which pervades the whole universe. It is like a boatman who has to go from one end to the other. And you only operate from, I want to get there. You can probably, but it will be a struggle. But if you sit and if you see, let me see what is the direction of the flow. Let me see the direction of the wind. Let me look at the depth of the river. Let me look at whether there are whirlpools or not. When you sit and examine
All the factors,
which then your going will become what?
easier.
Much easier. You will be able to navigate intelligently to where you go. So that means understanding your relationship with Ishvara and how that intelligence which manifests in the whole universe and how it makes everything what it is, and within it what navigating intelligently is going to give you meaning. It is going to give you satisfaction. Because you are working towards whether the result will come today or 100 years from now, you don't know. But one thing you know is what you are doing, what you have to do. And when you do what you have to do, what happens?
You're satisfied.
You are satisfied. You are satisfied with your own. See, everything is about settling account with yourself. If we carry this satisfaction within us, it's, who are we to tell?
Who are we?
Us only.
Yourself.
So that means you have to learn to be satisfied. But being satisfied doesn't mean inactive. You have to do what? can't give up frustration. Why can't you give up frustration? Because when you open your eyes and you see, if you're a little sensitive human being, you will see a lot of things that you would like to change. That's normal. And if you didn't, then you are so, so dumb. But if you see it, and then how to engage without dissatisfaction is with growth. Engagement, but with satisfaction. Satisfaction because of what?
Because the right action and connection with
Because we understand we have us.
That
because it doesn't arises any more repercussion after you do the action. There will be no repercussion. It's like sea to be calm and you have a solace. That solace you can rest, you leave conscious.
So there are just two small things that I wanted to say, because working with the UN, I saw a lot of people who are working with NGOs. So the NGOs, and the NGOs, they all have a very they're all very committed to making a difference in the world. And for making that difference, what they did when they graduated from school, they didn't want to go for their corporate careers and all, and they wanted to work for a non-profit organization because they wanted to do something meaningful. Now when they do that, what are they in their vision, what have they done? They have sacrificed certain money, certain comfort, for what? A noble goal of changing something good for the world. So that's it's a good mind. I mean, it's a nice thinking, sensitive mind. Very good. But what happens over a period of time? Even when you join the NGO, what happens is, anywhere there are human beings, there is what? Don't think that in NGO there is less politics than outside. Don't think that in the UN there is less politics than outside.
Everywhere.
Don't think in the ashram there is less politics than outside. Wherever human beings are,
Politics.
all their insecurities, all their everything starts manifesting. So then they said, oh my God, I thought that I have given up all this to what? To do something good for the world. But my boss is as controlling as what? In the other job. Then I have to deal with government officials to get my projects done. The government officials you think that they will be corrupt. If they are corrupt, they are corrupt. Or if they don't see value for what you are doing, they will have no value. So now you are dissatisfied with your boss, you are dissatisfied with what? The government officer. Then what happens? And then you want to do certain projects for that community. That community sees no value for your projects. So that is, I will tell you how it is. So I was working for just 6 months, head of a foundation who wanted to bring about what? Healthcare insurance to underprivileged people in India. So her whole strategy was, he said, most of the time, these poor people get, when somebody falls sick, they have to spend what? A lot of money, and they get into debt. When they get into debt, what happens is, they have to spend so many months to get out of debt. So she wanted to solve that problem. And she then, as a result, started what? Health insurance. Health insurance means you only have to pay 10 rupees subsidized. 10 rupees per month per family member to have insurance. And she worked out this whole strategy so well. And she thought that she is going to do what? The whole community a huge favor by starting this health insurance. person that she was, she's a very well-known person, so she kind of did this advertisement and this and that. Then the day came where the villagers had to enroll for that insurance program, right? Even though it's highly subsidized, they still have to come and they have to pay whatever 10 rupees per. She was expecting something like, let's say, 100,000 people to come. How many people came?
10 people.
So that means she has worked for months and years to what she thought was going to be beneficial to others. Given the person with her resources, she has really made all the strategies and everything. She has gone and spoken to different clinics and said that now these people, when they come, take them at a subsidized rate. So she went and arranged for a whole big system, hours and hours and hours of work.
She didn't study the consumer.
She didn't ask them. Then what happened is, so that means she was so frustrated. Because here she thought that she was revolutionary. She's going to change the whole, the debt, burden, everything was going to, and the participants for whom it was done, they saw
No
no
value.
value for it.
The immediate problem is eat food, knowledge.
So if they have limited income, for them, this 70, 80, 100 rupees, it's just like throwing away money. So that means you can have the best of the intentions, but the world is not going to respond according to what?
Your
And what then ends up happening is your levels, you have good intentions, but your levels of dissatisfaction, what happens? They go on increasing.
We had a friend in San Francisco, his name is Nipul Mehta, and we had a retreat for 100 best NGO in India, in Pune. It was last year. And it was mind-blowing. It blasted away everything and gave them a new idea of how to reach that and to bring a change in the mindset.
Exactly.
It was amazing.
Everything is about mindset. I tell you, everything boils down to mindset.
Mental makeup.
That's why the people who are imparting the knowledge in our traditional societies are held in the highest esteem.
That's you.
Because they are really, when a king went to see a rishi is sitting under a tree. He has nothing. Who bows to whom?
But today also in Wall Street, the right advice you get to a person who's coming by train, he gives the right advice whether they invest or not.
So therefore, what is important is that, good intentions is not enough. You can have a lot of good intentions and you can still operate from lot of dissatisfaction. How do you convert good intentions and satisfaction? The only way is what? Ishvara. Because you are acting within this grand design, you don't have the capacity to what? Change everyone all at the same time. It's not possible. But because it is not possible, it also doesn't mean what
You don't make the
what you
effort.
have to do. So that means you keep on making the right effort at the right time. And then what happens is, because you have chosen the right action at the right time after carefully examining it, that itself should give you what? Satisfaction. Then when you convert that dissatisfaction to satisfaction, then what happens?
Other things change.
You do a lot more and you are what?
Aligned.
Aligned and you are satisfied. So that means somebody said, what is the difference between somebody who has incorporated the vision of Ishvara and Vedanta in their life and somebody who hasn't? The very basis of your interaction with the universe is what? right now, the way things are, I'm dissatisfied, and my engagement in the world, accomplishing what I want from the world, will make me satisfied. This paradigm has to change, and it has to become what? I am satisfied. And my engagement in the world is an expression of what?
My satisfaction.
My satisfaction, my fullness, which I am what? Expressing through my actions. Different paradigm. You can be doing exactly as you do, but things are not made from what is the basis of your interaction? Not dissatisfaction, but what?
Satisfaction.
Satisfaction. This is what we call an inner revolution. That inner revolution will come only when you understand Ishvara. There is no, how will otherwise you will be satisfied? You cannot be satisfied because everything is apparently, a lot of things are in disorder. You just understand one grand design. Causes within causes, within causes, within causes, which makes everything what it is. And you have to operate within that. So this is why that from dissatisfaction to satisfaction. That is setustaraha. That is what the bridge to be crossed. From ashraddha to shraddha, from adanam to danam, from what? Dissatisfaction to
Satisfaction.
Can you end this with the story of the lion and how what is bigness?
What?
Reds are coming
Huh?
in the forest, the lion is sleeping. You know, you get the bigness after when you give.
Huh.
Okay.
So you tell now you tell.
I don't
I don't know what, I have no idea. So tell the story. I don't know what this
Because they were in the forest, there was a lion, and the lion was sleeping. So there were some of the reds were going around and around and around. So one small red, he went more there. Small rats went on the lion, and he started to finger his tail. No result. The lion was sleeping. But then he climbed a little bit on the top. And then he called all his friends. He said, come. And then with one leg he put on top and said, I am the king of the jungle. I am on the lion. And all of the red also came. And then he went further and further towards his neck. And then he started running from here to there.
On the back.
And so lion was awake and watching this one. And from his whisker, he's winking and looking at the top. He knew what his strength was. There was no need to fight with him. So his bigness, the lion's bigness was so superior. So when you learn to give, you become the lion. You have that bigness, what she's explaining. So that is the kind of strength you cultivate. And there is a different kind of a joy. That wherever you go, you feel that solace and that bigness in acting anytime for other actions also. Because you feel that. So anyway, but in this case, the lion was the comparison of lion is when you give how you are so big.
But I would use the same story to say, who's the real lion? Ishvara. And we are all what? Like mouse. And we think we are great and we are like this. But we forget the platform within which we operate is what?
Absolutely.
Lion, Ishvara. And we start thinking we are great, we are like this, we are like that. And
Ego.
Ishvara is what? Sitting and enjoying the show.
That's lovely.
Nice. That's a nice story.
What do you think, for instance, a guy like, the gate? I'm sorry.
So,
No.
What
No,
is
you
it?
have started
Talk
with your
is time.
explanation. See, Dinesh is also giving us so much example. We need to hear another one.
Yeah.
No, but for instance, a guy like, the Gate Foundation,
Yes.
which we know has 4 billion. They say that he invested more than all UN together.
Yes.
I think it's in line with Ishmael.
See, that also then, again, it depends upon the intention. Because there are some people who are telling me now, I don't know whether it is true or not. See, anytime when you have an organization doing something, you'll have 100 stories. Now, I don't know personally how to assess which story is right. We generally buy into stories without carefully looking into it. There are some people who told me that, they are working against AIDS. Yeah, they have a huge.
This is what it was in the newspaper.
Has a huge program against AIDS. So in some cases, I've heard that they have big collaboration with what we call the pharmaceutical companies. So what they do is they want to actually test the
vaccine, the whatever for AIDS.
So that means they use all these people to test what is. So that means now this is what we call a little bit of a conspiracy theory. So in everything you see that there is some ulterior motive, and it could be true, it may not be true, I don't know. But my point is, anything that you do, the intention counts. It may seem like an act of generosity. This is why what we do is, in Bhagavad Gita, that dana, which is what an act of giving, is divided into 3 categories, subcategories. One is sattvic, the other one is rajasic, and the third is tamasic. So what does it mean? Yeah, Roberto, what is that? Okay, when you give, what if at the center of your mind, the intention of giving is what? The well-being of the other person. Who is at the center? The well-being of the other person. Then it becomes what? Sattvic. No. When it is what you want to be recognized as a person,
as a giver,
who is a giver, and it is all about, there is an act of giving, but in your mind, in your intention, what is at the center? Your reputation, your image, your this thing. Then it becomes what? The same dhanam, the same act becomes what?
Rajasic.
Rajasic. Rajasic means it is still self-centered. See, one thing is very important. Because it is self-centered doesn't mean it's bad. At least the person is giving. Instead of not giving. But you can evolve further by changing what?
Your mindset. The intention.
So that means it's a program of growth, not program of judgment. You can always evolve to be what? A person who's more noble. So therefore, this is what I call Rajasic Dana. What is Tamasic Dana? I want to give you, but by giving you, I want to control you. Because I have an upper hand, and I want to use that upper hand to manipulate you. So one of the reasons, this is by the way, is that, when I first went to Thailand, people told me that Thais don't like Indians. So I said, now, how is it? But when I'm beginning to go out and I see, and I really noticed that they do have some prejudice against Indians.
Who doesn't?
Thai people, the local Thailand.
Local Thailand. So I was asking some other people, I was saying, like, why do they have this kind of some kind of judgment or some kind of prejudice towards Indians? So then somebody told me that when long ago, this is generations earlier, and 2 generations ago, he says Indians had, they have good business sense. So what they did is they lent money to Thai people in the name of what? Helping them. And what they did is Thai people were a little bit innocent. So they charged what? Huge interest rate. So therefore, what happened is the Thais over a period of time realized that what? In the name of help, they were what?
Duped.
And because of that, they still carry some resentment. That's one of the reasons why they still carry resentment. means the act of giving itself has what? A different intention altogether. So that becomes task. It is done under the pretext of helping others, but there is what? A completely different motive. So that
Same
means...
reason why so many countries have resentment against IMF or World Bank.
Yeah?
Yeah, the same thing.
Yeah, the same exact.
Same.
Even those who sponsor terrorists, that's terribly tough. Right?
Sorry?
People who sponsor terrorists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is all. They give money, but they give for wrong reasons.
All
So
the
that means-
drug laws.
All
Control
that
diabetes.
So they will stop here to see that what is Vidya, Avidya. You have to what? You have to be careful. So that means if you don't bring Ishvara, then also there is what you are living with Avidya. So you have to expand your definition from simple definitions of being
Just ignorant
the
enough.
simple things
Yeah.
to more and more refined things. That's how you what? Use the teaching of Upanishads to what? Understand life better and align more and more at bigger and bigger levels. I will stop because I think others want to come in and we can't. I'll just stop, then we can always talk, but I'll just pray. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti